Hey everybody, Douglas Blair Roberts here, the Super Beta 400 here, back for another movie review series. And this time, this is my review of the entire Power Ranger movie trilogy. That's starting with Power Rangers 1995 and ending with Power Rangers 2017. This is also my thoughts on the upcoming Power Rangers 2017 sequel, the sequel to the 2017 film, which despite the poor box office reception, Lionsgate announced that they are still moving. Hasbro announced they're still moving on with the sequel, but it's unknown if it will be, if they will be collaborating with Lionsgate or another studio. So that's what this video is. I'm gonna first do a long review of the entire trilogy, then we give my thoughts on the upcoming sequel. The next Power Ranger related video, I'm gonna review the entire Power Ranger television series. Then give my thoughts on the future of the Power Rangers television series in that video, and I'll also do individual reviews of my all-time favorite ones and ones I hadn't got to see and may watch in the future. I don't know. But that's what this video is about right now. I've been trying to get this out for months now, but just been tied up with other things. But finally, it's here. And with that that being said, let's get this video started right now. Let's hit my music.
Hey everybody, it's time for part two of my long awaited, long overdue review of the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger films. And as you can see by the picture above, we're gonna start off with one of my all-time we're gonna start off with my all-time favorite Mighty Morphin Power Rangers film, and in my opinion the best Power Rangers movie of the Power Rangers film trilogy, and that is the 1995 summer blockbuster Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie. My opinion, one of the greatest superhero and kids films of all time, and it still is to this day. I still consider this movie right here to be on par with the big budget Marvel and DC cinematic universe films out in theaters now, which in my opinion these films rule rule the box office these days, and I consider this kids movie from 1995 to be on par with each of them. I also thought this movie was in several ways better than the television series, and in one way I thought it was better than the television series was the the suits as you can see by the picture here. I love the new muscle tan the muscle tan armor, the shiny muscle tan armor similar to the Japanese Guyver adaptation movies and the Tim Burton's and Joel Schumacher's Batman films that were running around the same time this movie came out right here versus the cheaply made televised costumes seen in the television series. I also like how this film had its own Megazords instead of using borrowed stock footage from the Super Sentai series. The Power Rangers over the years have gotten better with syncing live action actors with Japanese footage, but back in the 90s they were horrible at it. And I like how this film had its own CGI, had its own special effects and everything, Megazords and everything. And I actually think the Megazords look pretty cool. They like a cross between Nintendo 64, Beast Wars, and the Sony PlayStation and Sega Saturn is what the special effects in this film look like. That's what special effects looked like in 1995. And this film has one of the best soundtracks of all time with awesome songs from Eddie Van Halen, They Might Be Giants, the late Phil Hartman, and of course even Snap's I Got the Power appears in this epic film right here. One of the best soundtracks of all time, even better than the big budget films of all time. This is one of the best soundtracks ever. So yeah, this is Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. The video game then you had the video game adaptation of this movie, which there were two. There was a Super Nintendo version and a Sega Genesis version. I just recently played the Sega Genesis version. Never got a chance to play the Super Nintendo version, but this is even better than the movie. It gives us more action, more Power Ranger action from the movie with the same plot in 8-bit form, which in my opinion is awesome. So yeah, let's talk about the storyline and characters was pretty good for a summer kids blockbuster, and in my opinion is nowhere near as bad as people and sometimes critics like to make it out to be. I'm going to start off with the critical reception. This film got 37% on the Rotten Tomato meter, which is mixed to average base reviews. That's pretty much what Power Rangers would get in this
Continues.
in this day and in this day and age. That's pretty much what Power Rangers would get. I would never see them getting a full 80 to 90% on the Rotten Tomato meter. It's one of those shows where it's too cheesy. You have to be a fan of it to like and appreciate it. And most of the critics who were reviewing this movie in '95 weren't. But you got people nowadays who try to tear apart this film because it was a kids movie and try to talk about how stupid and how much it doesn't make sense when there are a couple of inconsistencies and plot holes. Even big time movies have these. This film is still a pretty good superhero film. Nostalgia Critic, his review of this film was funny, but it was absolutely terrible, and he made the film look worse. It seemed bad. It seemed worse than it really was when it really wasn't. So yeah, the story starts off with the Power Rangers and Bulk and Skull, with the Power Rangers Tommy, Billy, Adam, Rocky, Aisha, and Kimberly skydiving with Bulk and Skull. Both Bulk and Skull and the Power Rangers land in different locations. Power Rangers are rollerblading, trying to save some kind of part. Bulk and Skull come across a giant egg, and later Rita Repulsa and Goldar come across that egg. They incapacitate the guards and the diggers, and open the egg and unleash the main antagonist of the film, Ivan Ooze, portrayed by Paul Freeman. Paul Freeman. We later learned at the beginning of the film that Ivan Ooze was a mythological being who ruled Earth with an iron fist for over 6,000 years before he was overthrown by Zordon and a group of young warriors who, of course, preceded the Power Rangers. The Power Rangers quickly find him. They confront him, and a battle ensues between Ooze and his Ooze patrols. The Power Rangers hold their own in their human forms. Then it really gets epic when they transform into their power-up forms and immediately clean house. While this is going on, Ivan Ooze goes to the command center where Zordon and Alpha Q is. He disables Alpha Q, and then he tears apart the control center, which severely wounds Zordon and causes the Power Rangers to lose their power. The Power Rangers report back to the command center to see what's going on, and Zordon tells them about Ivan Ooze and that what he has done and how they've lost their powers, and that they have to travel to the world of Dosea. They have to travel to the world of Phaedos with Dosea to find the great power, and use it to destroy Ivan Ooze. This is where they go there. They encounter Ivan Ooze's Tengu warriors, bird warriors. They hold their own, but have to be saved by Dosea. Dosea chases them off with her sticks, and then she
Hey, maybe next time you can join us.
then after awkward introductions, learns that they are Zordon's people. And gives them their brand new Ninja Getty outfits. And then they go on a new quest, and they beat these stone hog warriors who come out of the ground. They beat them, they vanquish them, and get the sacred power, and rescue they use their new Zords and stuff to travel to Earth, where Ivan Ooze is already in the Morticons, and is also in a subplot with his special Ooze kidnapped what's the kid's name again? Fred Kelman's Jamie Cross character, Fred Kelman's parents, and forced them all to walk to their deaths by leaping off a cliff. And Fred Kelman and Bulk and Skull managed to stop the parents while the Power Rangers fight Ivan Ooze Enthomorphicons with their new Megazords. Ivan Ooze bonds with the Enthomorphicon, and the Power Rangers and the Power Rangers, after losing, form their giant Megazord, and Ivan Ooze is still cleaning house, and they take the fight into space where a comet is passing. They kick Ivan Ooze in the balls. And he perishes by getting hit by the comet. and they fly back to Earth to a heroic fireworks in the sky, much to the jealousy and anger of Bulk and Skull, who also helped with. The film ends in heroic fashion, one of the most heroic endings to a film, with Eddie Van Halen's Dream playing in the background, in a post-credit scene earlier. Mordic and a character selfly created for this film, and Goldar, who betrayed Rita and Lord Zed earlier in the film. Are sitting comfortably in a chair where Lord Zed and Rita return angrily. Their betrayal in the film ends with the other theme song, "Uh-Oh, It's in Trouble," by the 90s British Italian band Shampoo. So yeah, Power Rangers, one of the greatest films of all time. There's not a dull moment in this film. This is one of the greatest movies of all time, and in my opinion, one of the greatest superhero kids movies of all time. It's still on par with the awesome movies of today, and to this day, in my opinion, it's my favorite and best Power Rangers film. This film right here was everything the 2017 reboot should have been and wasn't. Only problem I had with this film, and I didn't see it back in '95 when I saw this film for the first time. I saw it twice that year with two friends. I thought this film was a prequel to season 3, the Alien Rangers, and of course the Zeo series. Come to find out, this is an alternate sequel set in a different dimension, separate from the television series. That's the only thing I don't like. This film is an adaptation of the television series and not a tie-in with the television series like all of the other series are. That's the only thing I hate about this awesome film right here. It sucks that it's not really canon, because it's one of the best things, in my opinion, in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers franchise. But yes, that was the 1995 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers film. I'm gonna definitely before I do the video review, I'm gonna do another tie-in review with this movie, the video game, and its brilliantly awesome soundtrack. Well, that was Power Rangers 1995. Now time for the sequel, Power Rangers Turbo, or a Power Rangers film, or as I like to call it, Power Rangers Turbo, the movie, which this is. It's built as a sequel to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 1995 film, but it's actually a sequel. It's actually a sequel to the Power Rangers Zeo television series and a prequel to the Power Rangers Turbo television series, which right there I'm going to talk about what I didn't like about this film, because I love this film despite the critical reception. Unlike the first film, which got mixed to average reviews, this film was released to generally unfavorable reviews. I like to call this film the Mortal Kombat annihilation of the Power Rangers film series. You had the very first Mortal Kombat 1990 film, which production-wise was one of the best martial arts fantasy films of all time, which received mixed to negative reviews. Then you had the sequel, Annihilation, which in my opinion, in every way possible, with the exception of production, was way better than its prequel, but production-wise was absolutely terrible and was released to generally unfavorable reviews. That's what happened with Turbo, a Power Rangers film, where the first Mighty Morphin Power Rangers film was this big budget blockbuster. This movie right here felt more like an hour-long television episode, a 90-minute television episode of the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger television series. In the first one, we had cool, shiny, muscle-tan armor suits. Here, we're back to cheaply made costumes, made for TV costumes. this film, while having better effects than the previous film, which had its own stock footage, which had its own special effects, we're back to borrowing stock footage from Japan in this film. Film, they even I even heard they reused the final battle with Maligore, the main antagonist of the film, one of the main antagonists of the film, for the Power Rangers in Space season, which, by the way, I've never seen. At the time when I saw this film, I was getting out of Power Rangers, so I tell you the truth, I actually forgot about this film up until 2000, up until the mid 2000s and 2009 when I watched this film again. I recently watched this film back in 2016. 16 and 17 and consider this film way better than I thought it was back in the 90s and of course 2000s. Like I said, everything about this film was awesome. The story, characters. I didn't even mind Billy. I think his name is Jake Foster. I think the guy's name is Blake Foster, not Jake Foster. Blake Foster, who portrayed Justin Stewart, the Blue Ranger. I didn't even mind a kid being the Blue Ranger. Actually, as a kid, it was pretty cool. But I really wish Steve Cardenas, Rocky, would have returned as the Blue Zeo Ranger, or they would have got Austin St. John, Jason Lee Scott, the first Red Ranger and the Gold Zeo Ranger, who returned as a non-Power Ranger in this film. To portray the Blue Ranger, which I think they actually wanted, but Austin John, I think he didn't want to be a Blue Ranger, but Rocky, who should have returned, he left the series. He left the series to focus on his martial arts schools at the time. But Blake Foster, he was an okay replacement. I didn't mind him being a Power Ranger that much, but the entire cast from the previous film returns, with the exception, of course, Karen Ashley Aisha, who left the series and passed the torch to Tanya Sloan, Nakia Bunrise as the new Yellow Ranger, and of course Billy, who left the show during Zeo, Dave Yost, who left the show during Zeo and passed his crystal up to Tanya, passed his Zeo crystal to Tanya Sloan. So everybody returned, and of course Kimberly returned. Amy Jo Johnson returns as Kimberly Hart in this movie, but she's no longer a Power Ranger. Instead, she's taken over by Catherine Sutherland, an Australian-based Power Ranger. So Catherine Sutherland, that's Catherine Hiller in this movie. Yeah, the new villains are pretty cool. Hilary Sheffer Turner as Divatox, and of course the two new beings replacing Goldar and you got Elgar, Divatox nephew, and of course I think his name is Rygog and Elgar are Divatox's henchmen. I don't remember or care to look up who their actors were. Even what's her face? Barbara Goodison. Reprises her role as Rita Repulsa, who has a cameo in this film right here, telling Divatox to run when she asks her for tips on how to beat the Turbo Rangers. The only other thing I hate about this film is that this new Turbo theme kind of came out of nowhere, because like I said, the Zeo show was completely dependent on the Japanese stock footage, and when they ran out of footage, they had to create their own footage. So instead of creating new footage, they just transferred right into the Turbo series. But I love the Turbo theme. I only seen bits and pieces of the television series. Like I said, I got out of Power Rangers at this time. I was more interested in animation. So after this movie, I left Power Rangers for a while. I came back for Lost Galaxy though. So yeah, but I love the theme, and I do remember liking the action figures that were associated with this storyline. The costumes are okay, but not as good as the previous Mighty Morphin era costumes or the Lost Galaxy costumes that would come 2 years after this movie, 1 to 2 years after this movie right here. Yeah, but story-wise, I thought this was better than the first film. This film has more human action, which I thought was cool. The only thing I don't like is the pacing issues. Pacing issues. It takes a long time for the Power Rangers to enter the screen, and this film has an even better soundtrack than the first one. Well, actually not better, but it has its own unique soundtrack. Whereas the first one has uniquely created music, but it has a lot of licensed music mixed with newly created music. This has, for the most part, an original soundtrack. Everything was self-created by Saban at the time, and a guy named Ron Wasserman, who sung most of the songs, composed and sung most of the songs for this film. The action is bigger and badder than the first film, even though the production isn't. Malagor, the boss of the main antagonist, the last and final opponent, boss character of this movie, he's way more intimidating and way more fearsome and scary than any of the previous Ivan Ooze character. You know, Ivan Ooze was a much better bad guy in character and way more intimidating than Rita Repulsa in the new Power Rangers film. Rita Repulsa and Goldar in the new Power Rangers on film. This film was even edgier with Jason Scott Lee, with Jason and Kimberly being tossed in the pit and brainwashed to serve being brainwashed and turned evil and fighting the Power Rangers. The storyline is confusing. It involves a wizard named Larigo who is being hunted by Divatalk, an intergalactic power. Divatalk seeks his golden key to unleash an interdimensional monster named Malagor, a demon who promised to grant her riches and power, something like that. And she first kidnaps Bulk and Skull, but rejects them. Rejects them due to not being pure of heart. Then finds Kimberly Hart and Jason Scott Lee. She comically scrambles Bulk and Skull's brain, which makes them act sillier and dumber than usual. They nearly the Power Rangers eventually acquire the new Turbo Power and rescue everyone and take the fight to
Careful, it could be a trap.
Kimberly and Jason and Larigo and his what appears to be his wife unleashes the power, unleashes Kimberly and Jason from his control, and the Power Rangers fight Malagar and together shoot him with their new blasters. There's no effect. Malagor becomes big, so they use their turbo power to form a giant Zord in an awesome climactic battle. They narrowly defeat. They defeat and kill Malagor, and Divatox escapes, promising revenge, and this is not over. And the film ends with Jason Scott Lee taking the place of Rocky, who got injured in a martial arts competition earlier at the Angel Grove, Jason joins Tommy and Adam, and they defeat their opponents, earn the prize money, and save the shelter. And the film ends peacefully, just like the first one. Another great ending with Turbo Time and Shift to Turbo playing in the background. Like I said, an awesome film, way better than it was reviewed. The biggest problem with this film was the production. This felt more like a lead-in to it. It was a lead-in to a television series instead of a big-budget blockbuster. But still an awesome film. I'm gonna do a longer review tie-in with the soundtrack much later. Well, this was Power Rangers Turbo. Now for the final Power Ranger film, Power Ranger 2017, which Power Ranger 2017 was a huge and colossal disappointment. I remember being excited about it when I heard about it in 2014. When I saw the cast of characters, my excitement turned to disappointment. And when I saw the film for the first time, it was good. When I watched the film a couple of more times, I could see the flaws. The first biggest flaw is the pacing issue. It takes way too long for the Power Rangers to enter the screen. Second flaw I have with this film, it was way too serious. It was way too serious for what they were adapting. If you want to do a super serious Power Ranger film, you should have left Power Rangers alone, especially the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers era. If you want to do a super serious Power Rangers film, you should have did Lost Galaxy, Time Force, SPD, or SPD Emergency, which these seasons right here were absolutely dark. If you want to do a dark Power Rangers, then they take tips from two of the worst and most overrated films of all time. You have the very overrated Nolan Batman trilogy. That super dark realism, that does not work for every film, every superhero film, and especially not this. Then they took cues from the 2015 Fantastic Four movie, one of the worst superhero movies of all time. Yeah, you don't need to be taking tips from that.
Activating power.
Watching this film now for this long review right here, this film is so much better on home video and DVD and Blu-ray than it was when it was in theaters. I can skip the parts I don't like, and the cast did a good job with Billy, what's his name? What's the guy's name? The guy who portrayed Billy. Yeah, R.J. Cyler, Billy Cranston. He was the best character in the film, despite being altered for this adaptation. Every Power Ranger, every actor captured the spirit of their so-called Power Ranger character. Zach, he was the most annoying. Ludi Lin, who was an awesome actor, he was the most annoying in the film, but he captured Zach in this film. So the actors, while altering the Power Rangers mythos, this film captured the spirit of the Power Rangers. And I love several new additions, such as the more serious and darker the darker tone in some scenes, such as having Billy being killed off in one scene. And I also like what else about this awesome movie? Oh yes, I also like the special effects in Zords, even though I prefer the Zords of the previous one. And I like how the Power Rangers had, instead of just automatically becoming Power Rangers like it was in the series, they had to train and work to become Power Rangers. They had to earn that, and they did. The last 30 to 40 minutes, when Billy gets killed, them trained to become Power Rangers, and when they finally become the Power Rangers and are walking through the door with the remixed 1995 Power Rangers 1995 movie theme playing in the background, and them fighting Rita Repulsa and her Putty Patrol with the Megazords and combos and stuff was lit, with also Kanye West's All That Power playing in the background. That saved this movie. Made it one of the best films ever. So the first and second hour of this film was kind of boring, with boring cheesy teenage drama stuff. But the final finale saved this film. There were also several moments, such as the famous the famous pee in that cup scene where the Yellow Ranger Trini Kwan, portrayed by Becky G, is telling her parents and is telling her family about her Power Rangers power, and her mother thinks she's on drugs and tells her, and puts out a cup and immediately says, "Pee in that cup." It was that was hilarious, and I die every time I see that scene. I love how I love how you have Rita Repulsa actually walking around doing stuff, even though I still prefer Rita Repulsa in the television series more. One thing I couldn't stand about Rita in this film is that she wanted to obtain the Zeo crystal to destroy the world. I also hated that scene where she was eating gold to create Goldar. Goldar, the effect was cool, but Goldar sucked in this film. Goldar's an alien, a man. He is not some special effects creature made out of gold. She was stupid. And yeah, Rita Repulsa, she basically had no purpose. She was basically a super powerful villain for the Power Rangers to fight. Rita Repulsa at her campus in the television series had more of a reason to fight the Power Rangers and more of a purpose to be in the show than this super serious Power Rangers film right here. I also like how you had Zordon doing much. The film had him as a Red Ranger, and he was gonna instead of relying on teenagers, was gonna come out of the wall and become a Power Ranger. Actually, he recruited them to find a way to get out of the wall. This film, a pretty awesome film. Actually sucks it didn't make as much money in the box office because the sequel sounded like it would be much better. Since you spent this film developing who the Power Rangers were, the second you can just go right into the action. But that was the biggest problem with this film. This film came out at the same time as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and that film had problems, but that film was way more entertaining than what this film, Power Rangers film, should have been. This film was way too serious and way too dramatic. This should have been Power Ranger action comedy from beginning to end, like it was in the 1995 film. 1995 film. Love the CGI special effects. They remind me of RoboCop, Ninja Turtles, and the Transformers series. The Megazord itself looks like Optimus Prime. I prefer the Megazords from the show. I thought they looked cooler. The show and the previous movies, they look cooler. But this right here was pretty cool, and I love the use of motion capture. So like I said, not as good as the previous two Power Rangers film, but an awesome Power Rangers movie, and way better now than it was when it released. I hope the reboot, which I'm now about to talk about now, is even better. The Power Rangers reboot, like I said, I don't care what it's about as long as it captures the spirit and essence of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series, and as long as it's not super serious like this film, and not as long as this film was too. Have a lot of action, comedy, and drama, and Power Ranger action from beginning. I hope it doesn't take forever for the Power Rangers to enter the screen in the rebooted Power Rangers film, because you know Power Rangers has been overtaken by Hasbro now. Well, that's all I have to say about the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers film series. I'll wait till there's more information on the upcoming Power Rangers reboot to do another video on it. Well, this has been my review of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series, Power Rangers movie series. If you don't want to hear the rest of the song, turn the video off right now.
Power's there. Zordon's life depends on it.